I've seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away to go. Leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you never run before.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, we've got a funny layout. I hadn't meant to do that layout. This is because Ian's late tonight.
It says Mr. My Apple Mac is doing updates.
It was doing 42 minutes of updates, and then it decided to do it in 20 minutes because it's efficient, and then your Firefox decided to update.
Yeah.
And Ian is never late or early. He arrives precisely when he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like at the minute, for those, this is given we're partly an audio podcast and partly on video, it looks like the opening credits for Charlie's Angels at the minute. So I'm just going to change that because it's slightly disconcerting. There you go. That's better.
Which one was which?
I want it to be Farrah Fawcett. Is she not the hottest one? I don't know. I can't remember.
there's one and there's reality.
I know Farrah Fawcett from the original ones, and I don't know any of the others.
One called, was there a Jackie something?
There was Jackie. There was
the actor's name?
Siobhan. There was Edith. Edith. She was a good Charlie's Angel. Edith.
You guys are too old. Like young guns like me. We only know the remakes. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, good evening. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast, brought to you by Charlie off of Charlie's Angel. I mean the Scottish.
Cammy's blog. There's the episode title: Cammy's Angels.
Cammy's Angels.
Yes.
Woo! Get it in early.
This is why you bring me along. It's just for that puns.
You're an ideas man, Ian. That's it. There's not much, by the way, news tonight. So what we thought we'd do is, given this, as we're recording this on Tuesday evening, and the Lions squad announcement is taking place at they're going to start at 11:45, and they're having 45 minutes of preamble before announcing the squad at 12:28 on Thursday, as though that's going to be on time. And then, as predicted by Graham Love on Twitter, all hell will break loose about 1 o'clock. When nobody's happy with the selection. So what we're going to try to do tonight is predict. The whole evening is this. In fact, this is what the whole evening is about.
It's the legally mandated Lions chat. The legally mandated Lions chat. We've heard so much about it that it makes us sick, but we've still got to chat about who Gatland's gonna pick.
Yeah, so the whole evening tonight is to decide who Gatland's going to pick.
Quickly, so we don't get accused of Glasgow bias, you can do, I've not actually looked at it yet, but you can, if you're an Edinburgh Rugby fan, you can do a virtual tour of the new stadium.
Ooh, and
garden centres are open. You can do a proper tour of the new stadium if you want.
Can you kind of like see all the pillars in real 3D?
You can gauge them to the millimetre. That's what you can do. It's such crisp clarity.
Do you guys did you guys watch Silicon Valley at all?
Yes, it's one of the best sitcoms of the last
So
couple of years.
the episode where they do the box and he shows them all the different places that their box is going to be, that's what the virtual tour of Edinburgh Stadium is going to be. Here's where a pillar is, and here is where another pillar is.
So
yeah, if you're an Edinburgh fan, go and go and have a look at that. I've potentially got some. We need to address the balance because Sandy's no longer with us on the podcast anymore. So we do need to redress the balance because we've got two Glasgow fans and then me, who's completely apathetic. There's Ian showing us the tour, who's completely apathetic towards both pro teams. Other than any, no more so than that they're there to kind of feed the international side. So we do need to address about. So we've got plans, we've got irons in the fire, trying to bring on board a voice to our red troused brethren across the way.
Can I make a point of order?
Yes.
I had forgotten that Rossford was a Lion. This.
How could you forget that Rossford was a Lion?
It's because Rossford is the insanely most forgettable person ever on the planet. He is not
for this podcast. He is not.
I feel besmirched on his behalf.
Every single article ever written about Rossford has to open with British and Irish Lion Rossford.
Scotland's most capped forward.
Yeah,
he's in with Ewan Murray as well, and it's like, a Scottish
and Chris Cussett and Nathan Hines.
See,
Taylor would have been on one of those, wouldn't he?
Was he in 2000? I don't think Taylor made 2009. But I think that's it. I mean, the interest, we got more Lions on 2009 than we did last time round, and we were rubbish in 2009.
We were not very good. So, in fairness, in 2009, we had just had our first successful away tour to Argentina in 2008 under Big Al Kellock's leadership. So maybe, and we reached 5th in the world in 2008.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we reached our highest ranking for quite some time. So maybe we were not as crap as we thought.
Well, we might revisit when we do. There's Sam Marsh saying Simon Taylor was 2005.
It's crazy to think, isn't it? Makes you feel. Well, you guys are.
I'm doing the virtual tour thing here and looking at the press seating, and the first picture that comes out is a stairwell out the stadium. You can all
go across the way. That's it.
I don't think they're going to let you in the press seat meeting.
I thought you're going to say they've got to put a virtual Rob Robertson or Mark Palmer in there, just kind of sat with the computers, type match reports. David Barnes.
It actually looks
angrily
it's a lot more spacious than Murrayfield by the looks of it. Because that's a nightmare.
They're very tight, aren't they? I mean, you're a smaller guy than me as well. You can imagine it's a wee bit.
Yeah, that's why I always try and get. If you get there, I need to try and get there early. Otherwise, you're sort of like having to clamber over. And at my age, there's hammies and groins that could get pulled quite easily.
The first time I ever covered a game at Murrayfield, and I think I've told you the story. I don't think I've told it on here before, but because I was going on the train through it, and I was going up through Edinburgh, and I thought I didn't want to take, like, we've got 2 laptops in the house. I'm not taking the good family one with all the family photos on. I'm going to take the crap one we've had kicking around for ages, but it's got no battery on it, so that'll be fine. There'll be a plug there. I'll be all right. Got there, and it works fine on plug, and you can plug it in, and it's no, they've got plugs at in the press box. So I plugged it in, and then the guy from the press association was sat next to me and unplugged my switched the wrong switch, and I lost an entire half match report. So that was fun. So we're going to have a bit of coverage, obviously, of the team announcement on the blog, so scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. We're going to post a stream of the team announcement on there, and then on the idea is on Thursday that we will do we're going to stream a podcast at about 3:30 where we're going to have our instant reaction to it. So you'll be able to see that on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube as well. We'll do that. And for our Patreons, and I'll come on to our Patreons and how you can be a Patreon in a minute, we'll do that as an audio download, but you won't get it as an audio download if you just listen to the normal podcast stream with the adverts and stuff. It's only going to be audio only for Patreons only. So if you want to sign up for our Patreon, it's patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. Costs you £3 a month. You get ad-free versions of the podcast, mini podcasts, and you also get exclusive episodes as well. We are every month we're making our way backwards through time to pick Scotland's hardest player at the minute. So for £5 a month, though, so it's £3 minimum, £5 you get into the Dougie Donnelly's Members Lounge. And this week, we want to say hello to Peter Burns. So Peter says it's been a long time, loves the podcast, taking a while to sign up, but he has come straight into the Dougie Donnelly Members Lounge. So thank you very much to Peter for joining us in there. You're very welcome. We are also
Thank you.
We're also brought to you in paid partnership with Manscaped.com, still inexplicably. So if you go to manscaped.com/Scottish Rugby, you can get 20% off plus free shipping on a wide range of male gentlemen's grooming products. It has to be said, and regular listeners to the podcast will know, they mainly focus on the downstairs region. They mainly focus on clippers. And it is, I believe it is last month was Testicle Cancer Awareness Month. So, you don't have to, that doesn't have to be once a year event, that, every month you should be aware of your testicles every month, gentlemen.
Should be like changing your bed sheets.
Yeah. So go down, maybe you want to invest in a trimmer, but while you're down there, do have a check. Manscaped they kind of fund a testicular cancer awareness charity. So you won't just be helping yourself to, an area downstairs area. You'll also be helping other men through their charity work as well. They do different things, ball toner, they do aftershave. You get some nice bits of kit in terms of if you buy the full kit, you get a wee nice wash bag and, things you can go self-catering now. Camping's nearly opened up. Think of all the places you can take your little wash bag and your little clippers.
And just shaved balls.
Hey, swimming pools are open in England. I'm in England, so swimming pools are open in England now. Do you might want to make sure that you're presentable. You've got nothing sneaking over the top of your trunks.
Less chance of getting something you can.
John's put himself on mute. He's disgusted by that thought.
I was just going to query what swimming pools you're going to, Cam. Where that's
I'm just saying if you are if you're a gentleman with a fuller downstairs area and you just want to trim the top back a little bit so there's nothing peeking out.
Or just wear like a
shorts. State of the hirsuteness going on round here.
Look, listen, John. Men, if maybe some of our listeners want to be rocking some budgie smugglers or speedos. Oh, yes. So if you feel bold enough to do that, one, you're a better man than me. I'm swimming full swimming shorts all the way. But if that's what you want to do, then go to manscaped.com/Scottish get yourself 20% off.
Good thing it's the early summer.
Trimmer. Yeah, exactly. You'll be on the beach. Yeah, people will be packing on the beach soon enough, and you want to get yourself in shape, then that's the place to go for that.
Oh, I tell you, the suavest guy I've ever seen in my entire life. When I was like 16, I was on holiday in Ayia Napa. Sort of lads.
That's where you find the suavest guys in the world, is Ayia Napa.
Right.
So I've heard.
Bronze.
So suave guys go on holiday.
And I think I was 16 at the time, and I'd been out on the lash all night. And then some
easily impressed.
Boys were like,
impressionable.
Let's go down to the beach. There's this dude, big aviator sunglasses, eyeing up basically any bird there. And then budgie smugglers. But then this was the pièce de résistance. Out came the cigarette. Out came the cigarette holder. So he sat there like,
yes.
Hello, ladies. Oh, it was majestic.
Where had he been keeping that?
Was he like Raoul in the Iron Brew advert?
Yeah.
Raoul touching Raoul.
Look, ladies, I am bouncing.
Hello, ladies.
Raoul is bouncing up and down.
Speaking of bouncing up and down, we are all bouncing up and down with excitement for Thursday and the Lions squad announcement. I say, how are you feeling? I'm going to start with you, John. How are you feeling? Because I swing between absolute sheer terror and full-on optimism that we're going to get double figures of Scottish Lions.
Yeah. So I was actually just at rugby training before this, and I arrived a wee bit early, and the guys were asking what our predictions were for the Lions numbers and stuff like that. And I said, like, I think minimum like half a dozen. Like, if it's less than half a dozen, I'm going to be absolutely gutted. But I'm kind of thinking it's going to be more. And like, I'm kind of veering between that, like, absolute excitement that we might actually have a few Lions, and then the realization that it's Gatland and who knows what he's going to do. So it's difficult. It's difficult. I don't like it.
Yeah, you like it. How are you feeling, Ian?
Well, I've actually, I'm a wee bit more pessimistic than John. I think there's 5 definites over on the Scottish Rugby Forum. I've been agreeing with Alan Donald. Don't know if does he listen to this? I don't know.
He should.
He definitely should, and I'll remind him of that if he doesn't. But I'd say me and him, we've picked the same 5 definites. So I've got 5 who I think have to go, really. And then there's a couple of, I would take this person over this person, but I don't think that's what Warren Gatland will do. I think there's maybe been a couple of compromises made, even just subconsciously with Gatland. Maybe he's gone, all right, I'll pick this person here over this person here, but because Toony and Tandy are shouting at me, I will agree to this next suggestion that they make. So yeah, we'll go through it. Cammy, I've seen a bit of yours, and a lot of them are very similar.
Yeah, we'll go through them. I mean, it's interesting. The Townsend, because Malcolm McAdee's very confident he's going to get 11. Actually, I mean, when I go through mine, I was quite kind of surprised myself with how many I picked, but I don't know if I just got a wee bit optimistic at the end of doing it. But that one thing I was thinking that kind of struck me over the weekend, that when you watch the Lions tour videos of particularly the last 2 tours, that they filmed the discussion around who's going, or a bit of the discussion around who's going, not everything. And there's been a lot of focus on who Gatland will pick and a lot of focus on who Gatland has picked in the past. And on the last 2 tours, the coaching setup's been really consistent, hasn't it? Because you've had
Graham Roundtree, Andy Farrell.
Yeah. So, but now you've got, Rob McBride's been before, and obviously Neil Jenkins has been before, but you've got Steve Tandy and Gregor Townsend running attack and defence.
Which are the real. That's the real coaches. Let's be honest. Like, well,
to a certain extent, is. I mean, you think about what was it? You mentioned 2009 with Ross Ford. That was the year that Gatland went. Did he go as defence or attack coach? With McGeechan took him. But the reason he went was because he was seen as the next Lions coach. So I was kind of thinking. I wonder. The Guardian did an article this week saying Marcus Smith has been tapped as a possible bolter. The rumour is that he's had a letter, and that to me smacks absolutely of a Gregor Townsend pick. And I just wonder what I've had in my head is when I've gone about doing this, I haven't been purely who's Warren Gatland going to pick. It's like, well, Warren Gatland's going to be in a room with a man who gave Phil Burley a Scotland cap. Right.
Yeah, he wasn't that bad in his Scotland.
No, I know he wasn't. But Joe, to me, Gregor Townsend's, this great rugby thinker, and all of a sudden he's been given the keys to the toy cabinet. He can play with everybody else's squads all of a sudden. Before he was limited to Scotland players, now he can select whichever random Welsh qualified player he wants across the world of it potentially.
So what you're saying is every squad pick that Townsend's done, where we've all been Googling players going, who, that's a possibility for the Lions. Like, he could just literally. I don't think he can rule out. I mean, like when they announced the coaches, Warren Gatland said something like, well, I've been given 52 or 53 names by all the coaches, and I can guarantee you that 30 of them were identical on everybody's list except for Gregor Townsend. So the extra 20 names are just Gregor Townsend going, here, I found this guy who's got a Welsh granny who plays a linebacker for a US college. I found this South African boy, but he's Scots, Welsh, and English qualified. He's at university in Norway, but he's going to be fine.
Yeah. But so I think people have made too much of it's Gatland and he'll go with his favourites, because I don't think he's not the Welsh coach anymore either.
Have you just seen that as well? Yes. Josh Paul, good. Some
Josh
good
Paul
there in the comments.
No.
Nathan Fowles for the Lions.
For hairdo alone, no.
So, with that in mind, shall we do the forwards first? I think we just. I don't think. I thought about whether or not we could do like a bit like we did when we did the Lions 15. Kind of. Did we do a Lions 15? We kind of voted on who we were going for in each position. That was easy to work out. It's harder with the Lions squad, so I think we can kind of just. We'll have to just go with our own squads and contrast and compare. I don't think it's hard because when you look at the splits, we've probably done them differently and selected different numbers in different places. Should we do the front row then? Should we start there? John, who have you got for your loose heads?
Yeah, so much like everyone else, I think Wyn Jones is the kind of the main pick there. I think if Sutherland is fit, and that's the big question for me, Sutherland. Possibly, yeah, Sutherland goes. I also, like you, I know in your squad you've got Cian Healy. I think he will go as an experienced campaigner. And then it comes down to squads, this kind of squad makeup. And if they go 4-4, which is a condensed squad, so it's not guaranteed. But I think if they go 4-4, you might see. I hate it. You might see a Mako squeeze in there as I'm meant to be good at rugby, but I'm really not good at rugby. But I've got like a Saracens contract, so hence I get picked for everything. But
I can see that. Yeah, well, he's not. I don't think he's been fit, or he's not. Definitely not. He's played for England, obviously, over the Six Nations. He doesn't look to be.
He hasn't been fit for like 5 years, though. He still inexplicably gets picked.
It depends why you're taking him. If you're going to say you're going to take 4 on either side of the scrum and then possibly 4 hookers as well, because it's an attritional tour and you can't call up replacements, which is a possibility, then I can see the argument for Mako going to pass on his experience to other players. Yeah. But I don't know if you need that if you've got Cian Healy, Wyn Jones.
There's also an argument as well that Mako was one of the ones, him and Billy both commented how much they struggled with camp and struggled with the isolation in the England camp this time round. So there's maybe an argument that perhaps that's maybe not, maybe that will count against him. I don't know. I just think like he's probably got enough. Inexplicably, he's got enough in the bank. I don't know how. Well, I do. It's your boy Ray, but he's also got rugby stuff in the bank, I suppose.
Yeah. Ian, who did you go for your loose heads then?
Well, so for loose heads, I've got Wyn Jones and Cian Healy. Now, because of Rory Sutherland's questioning about his fitness, I've gone with Ellis Genge, although I've been informed that Ellis Genge said he didn't get a letter.
Ellis Genge has not had a letter.
Yes.
So Ellis Genge isn't.
Letter. It's probably in his junk mail.
But I know, but I think
hasn't figured out how to access it yet.
So Ellis Genge said today that he hasn't had a Lions invitation letter, which is, I think that's a big thing for me, and that I wrote my squad after I'd read that, and what that did to me is it shifted me to think that they're looking at different things, right? They're not taking, because Genge went on the last tour, didn't he? Was Genge on the last tour?
I don't think so.
No, he wasn't, was he?
No.
That's right. He's 26 now, so I mean, obviously Cian Healy's, what is he, 32 odd?
He's 30.
I think. Sorry, just to confirm to Moshi Chen there, who's commented, this is not who I'd pick. This is what I think Gatland's going to pick.
Yeah, we're going to be clear with. We're going to be clear with that.
Yeah,
that we're not. We are talking of. Yeah, we're talking about who we think is going to be picked, not who.
Remember the theme tune? We're still going to talk about who Gatland's
going to pick.
Again, there's another name there's come up, Joe Mahler, who, and if what John was saying about Mako being a tourist, Mahler has excused himself from camps previously because he says he doesn't like being away. Yeah. And then when it comes to the World Cup, he just saunters back in.
He can excuse himself from this camp and go away and not be part of this camp.
I don't think this is for various reasons, which I'll come on to. I think there's an element of this. There could be a lot of banter selections just to wind up Eddie Jones from Warren Gatland and Derek County's point of view on this. That basically, the majority of England players that might go on this tour might not be current England caps.
You mean
But
James Haskell's going to go?
You're going to have to. It's a long tour.
No bother, mate. No need to apologise. Sorry, Mum. Just Moshy's apologised there. Like, no need, man.
Right.
It's just yeah.
We I don't know that anybody can put up with the level of banter that Joe Mahler would bring to a COVID secure bubble in a foreign country for 8 weeks.
I don't know. Is there anybody from the traveller community that's going? You know, I'm sure they'd be delighted.
Well, that's true. I've gone with Keane Healy, Wyn Jones, but I've gone with Rory Sutherland because purely on the basis that Richard Cockrell was saying that he's touch and go, but he's in with the chance. And I think we're at the stage in preparations where it's early enough that they could call him up now and see how he goes and have someone in the back. You're not taking a risk by kind of him getting closer to it and going, Jim, we'll have to call somebody else up.
And you know what else? There's another little thing at play here. It kind of feeds into, like, the Lions know that Scotland have not been thrilled with their representation over the last few years. And see if you call someone up in the initial squad and then they don't make it because of injury, they've still been called up. And it will placate some of the Scotland fans somewhat.
Yeah.
Knowing fine well that Sutherland might not make the tour, and actually you've got Sausage Boy Genge sitting there, ready to talk to the press about silly sausages and stuff.
I really hope. Is it Roundtree scrum coach again?
No.
I hope he has to.
No. He's dry. He's stepped. He's not going to choose Robin McBride. They haven't announced the scrum. They haven't announced the scrum coach yet. So the only coach is.
Oh well, you know who it is then, it should be John Welsh. Let's see how hard you. Let's see how hard you, Sausage Boy.
That would be such a Townsend pick. That would be amazing.
The last minute thing I had was I was kind of talking to Johnny McGinty today about this, carrying back and forth with him, and he was the one that kind of made me think, do we need to have 4 forwards? But then you were talking, Ian, about do you select a prop that can play both sides? So have you gone with Andrew Porter at tight head then?
Yeah. So what I've got three. I've got 3 loosies, and then I've put Porter out loose head, but with an asterisk beside it, so that he can cover tight as well.
Right.
Because when I've got a 2016 split.
I didn't even think my split. Hang on, I'll tell you.
I mean, when I was looking at it, I could even have gone 21-15, but then you're asking people to fill in different positions. But I've only got 3.
Can we throw another name into that mix? And he's been mentioned before in this, then thinking about the versatility aspect, Ollie Kebble.
I've got that down. That was my next point, because I've got that written down exactly. Because I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, when has he played?
I don't have any notes.
Because I know when he first was signed for Glasgow, they said he can play both sides of the scrum.
He has played tight head for Glasgow.
Yeah, because I've put Kebble down after we'd had that discussion. I put Kebble down because I don't think that's mad, because he's played club rugby in South Africa. He's shown he do very good from the bench for Scotland. He do a very good job for the dirt trackers off the bench and for guys to play against in training. And that's all. Someone like Ollie Kebble, that's why you're taking them on too. You're not taking them to be to be in contention for a test starter. You're giving them a place to. You're basically taking them to hold the tackle bag. But here's a guy that's got a lot of insight and knowledge of how professional clubs in South Africa operate. He'll be very familiar with some of the opposition players, even though he's not. He played there for 3 years, but he'll still be familiar with how they go.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's a mad call if they're looking for a 7th prop to give that versatility.
It's a good shout.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for someone to maybe just come on 10-15 minutes, I was Richard Gray from All Blaze No Glory. We were talking about this the other day, because I think me and Cammy had a discussion about Kebble a bit before, and it wouldn't be mental. A press conference I was doing before a Warriors game, he was talking about playing in South Africa and speaking to people back home about what it's like. I don't think he's absolutely mad. He's only played a couple of times at Pro 14 level for Glasgow at tight head.
Yep.
But he's built like one. And if you've only got him on the pitch for like 10 minutes, how many scrums are you actually going to get?
How badly wrong can it go?
And also, if he's only on for 10 minutes, that just lets him run loose, and we know how good he is at carrying. He's
that could be fun. Yeah. Plus, how good would Ollie Kebble look in the line shirt? Just as an aside,
I heard a story through someone about there's a rugby analyst who worked for a Premiership club, and the analyst is sometimes given the job of sitting on the bench and relaying the instructions from the box from the coach. And said analyst misunderstood instructions from the coaching box, and they ended up with 2 loose heads on the pitch.
Yes!
And it came to a scrum, and he heard the words in his ear of, "Well, this is going to be effing interesting, isn't it?"
It's
so. I think it's. I've not made a decision about who I'm going to cut elsewhere, but I'm going to throw Kebble in there.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with kind of the 7 props rather than going with 8.
That's a good shout, actually.
I've got 7 props. I've only got 3 hookers.
Yeah, well, they've got 3 hookers. I don't know. It worries me. I think it's a lesser. I think you could get away with. I suppose if you get 2 injuries in hooky, you're screwed. Really,
you're going to have 4 hookers. You're going to have 4 hookers.
Or
and you know what you're going to have?
You're
going to have 4 hookers, and you're going to have one that can cover back row.
I was going to say, it's like Toony will just be like, "Oh, don't worry, we know all about we can get Hamish Watson to play hooker, or sorry."
Well, I mean,
old hands.
Scott Steele's played flanker now, so.
We'll go. I'll go tight head. So did you have a tight head then, John?
So tight head, we've went for 2 seconds to get my wee list up. So the obvious options is Ty Furlong.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Xander Slander is going to go, and it's a difficult one at this point where I think England might squeeze a prop in there, so Sinclair might go based on his club form, but I think there's an argument for Francis as well. I think he's been a good option. This is one of the hardest ones because I think right. So I think Furlong and Fagerson are so far ahead actually of everyone else. So it's a really difficult one to think who's going to be probably your third.
Yeah. I had Fagerson, Furlong, and Francis, and I bolded the players I thought were nailed on, and I kind of think that's it. I don't think there's much of an argument for Sinclair. I mean, we might be surprised. I think there's an element with some of the writing around the Lions this time, and it's almost like a mass hysteria that gets created that just everybody convinces everybody else that these players are definitely nailed on, and Cal Sinclair's one of those. I think Tom Curry's the other one where just because enough people say it, everybody starts to believe that that's definitely going to happen. But I don't actually think that's true.
It's propaganda. That's what that is.
That's a groupthink. Is that what they call it? I'm half hearing to being an anti-vaxxer here and starting to accuse people of being sheeple. Is that where this is what happens when you start to get an alliance to us? All of a sudden you start watching YouTube videos where
you're going to start sharing Alba party stuff soon. Tight heads, obviously Furlong's the number 1, number 3. And then we've all got the same sort of 4 names in the mix.
Yeah.
But I've actually, I don't know. I mean, there's something that makes me think that Xander's not going to go, and they'll pick Kyle Sinclair. So I've gone Furlong, Francis, Sinclair. Personally, again, remember this is not my options. I think this is just what will happen. Although one thing I would say in Fagerson's, certainly to his advantage, would be that because we know there's going to be games played at altitude, if the tour actually goes ahead, of course, Fagerson has a great engine. His cardio is unreal for a tight head. So I think that could push him in. But I think there's just something. I don't know why, but I think they probably look at, because everyone goes on about how good Sinclair and Genge are around the park, with ball in hand. Rather than
I think that's just the way that England play, though. I don't think that's. I think that's it's a bit of
English
a false.
press.
It's one of the English press, but I also think it's England play a lot through the forwards, and particularly a lot through they give the balls to their front row props. Scotland don't do. Scotland tends to be more focused on their locks and their back rows, right? Ferguson. There's a really good website. I'm called this guy's done a comparison. So it's contenthubble.com/playground/lions-selection. And you can compare. What he's done is he's uploaded everyone's stats from the Six Nations, and you can compare how everybody's done by position, and you can swap people in and out. So, Ferguson made more meters than any loose head.
Tight head.
Tight head, sorry. I'll get it right one day.
He made more meters more meters than Sinclair off the same number of carries.
Yeah. So they both made 37 carries. Zander made 159 meters, and Sinclair made 130.
Have you seen the tackle stats?
So the tackle stats, yeah. So Thomas Francis made 59 tackles. Zander only made 18. But the thing, I think if you looked at, I know from the stats that we were looking at during the game, that Zander hits a ridiculous amount of rucks.
His work rate's immense.
And that only comes out in those kind of very detailed stats. It's not the big headline stats of carries and stuff like that.
I think Zander's going to be one of the guys that benefits most from having Steve Tandy on tour. Actually, I think without a Scottish defence coach, Zander maybe is touch and go whether he goes. I think with Steve Tandy, Zander brings so much to the Scottish defence, as you say, that work rate at the breakdown in particular. But also, he does get around the park. He does tackle. He does everything that a modern prop is meant to do. His scrummaging's improved immeasurably. He is also, I think we've made the point before, that he's young enough that you're getting him on tour because you know he's going to be a starter in 4 years' time. So I see no reason why. I think Furlong's your test prop. And then it's up to the other 2/3 to kind of fight it out for the 18 jersey.
That's what gets Zanders on. Those are the two big factors that get Zander on tour that have been overlooked: is Steve Tandy and his age, because he's got two more tours in him, and so that over anything gets him on tour above someone like Sinclair, because this would be Sinclair's last tour. I think
not that old. Sinclair's
like late 20s.
I think he's only about 25, isn't he? Hold on.
Let's do this. Let's do this, Ian. 28.
Yeah, 28. I thought he was 28. So you get another tour out of him. You get another tour out of him potentially, like 32 at the next Lions tour. Then so you get a tour out of him.
That's assuming that Eddie Jones hasn't flogged his forwards to
He hasn't had them doing judo against one another. Have we had yours? Have we had your tight heads, then, Ian? Did you say Ferguson, Furlong, and Francis as well? Then, are you?
I said Furlong, Francis, Sinclair.
Okay.
One of the things that might count against Zander from that page, when I've just looked at this, penalties conceded. Zander conceded 7 penalties, 5 at the scrum, even though we know that sometimes, I've heard a rumour that he likes to test people out once or twice.
And I think that's borne out, isn't it? And again, that's where it helps to have somebody in the room who might know whether that's true or not, because it certainly would be borne out of what happened in the games this year, that the first scrum has been a bit shaky, and then after that he's tended to be dominant. I mean, he's certainly got the better of the England scrum in that game. And we got parity pretty much with France as well. Italy and Ireland were there or thereabouts. I think it went. Momentum shifted back and forward, I think, one way or the other. But
Yeah.
How on earth did Kyle Sinclair win 2 lineouts? It's like, who's launching him up?
Because the English lineout was so bad that
To
there
the
was
front of the time.
missed throws to there was missed throws.
So hookers then. I've gone Ken Owens, Luke Cowan, Dickey, and Rob Herring. Now I went with Rob Herring just because I thought, why not? 'Cause I can't think of it. I don't think they're taking the two English.
There is some slim pickings up there, isn't there?
There is.
Oh yes.
I'm not good. I mean, Johnny McGinty was suggesting Fraser Brown, but I think I kind of before the Benetton game, I thought, do you know what? That's not a mad shout that you've got Townsend and Tandy in the room, and they say, look, Fraser Brown's good guy. He'll come in and do a job for you, and he's versatile. He can cover back row. But I know he had an all right game, but I mean, Glasgow, you can't lose like that to Benetton and expect to go on Alliance tour.
No, you can't.
But then you've picked Xander Fragerson.
He came on as a sub, didn't he?
No,
Don't damn me my own logic, Ian Hay.
Xander's got a lot more credit in the bank. I think Fraser Brown, because of the leadership role he has to play at Glasgow as well, has to really take much more responsibility for that result. And I think the problem we've got with Fraser Brown now, very talented player. And you know what? A year ago, you asked me if Fraser Brown probably goes on tour. So it's not just a gut reaction to the Benetton game, but I think Fraser Brown's form in terms of he's been giving away more of those stupid penalties that he does. And I don't want him to be the Ronan O'Gara of this tour. I don't want him to be the guy who absolutely clotheslines someone in the last minute and loses us the tour. I think there's an argument now. This is where I'm going quite left field, right? And someone's kind of half preempting what I'm going with, but so I think Ken Owens is definitely on tour, and I think Kevin Dickey absolutely. I think it's a toss-up between Herring and Jamie George. Actually, I think again Jamie George probably might get the nod.
I think he was on tour last time. Yeah, he was on tour last time, wasn't he? So yeah.
I think there's an argument if you're looking for a bolter, George Turner might go on tour. Now, hear me out. Crazy though it may sound, George Turner had a good Six Nations, has been very, very decent for Glasgow for quite a wee while, and he is versatile, and he is so quick. Get him in the back row, let him run riot, and I think if you're looking for a fourth choice, someone that can come in off the bench, do a wee job for 20 minutes, and can cover back row in a push, I think Turner's your option. I don't think Fraser Brown. I think he's possibly at the point now where he's maybe just past that, being able to do that properly. Whereas Turner's still quick enough, he's still strong enough, he's still versatile enough. I think Fraser Brown, a year ago he would. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because none of us have mentioned Stuart McInally.
I was just thinking that about Stuart McInally, and I think that's there's a chance that he could be lucky. If they're looking for a certain type of player, if they're looking for that versatility, which I spent a long time thinking about because it's been mentioned quite a lot by Warren Gatland. That's what they need on this tour. They need versatility. He may be lucky that he hasn't played yet, and that might come into play because genuinely. He hasn't had a chance. No, he hasn't. And so if you're saying, well, look, you've got Gregor Townsend and Steve Tandy saying, look, here's a guy that can come on and he's got a few games to get under his belt before the tour. We can get back up to match fitness. We know Ken Owens can play number 8 because he's played there for Scarlets when they got really desperate. But there's not really much versatility. I don't think you've got much versatility in the rest of your hookers.
If you take Jamie George, he can maybe play prop.
But there is that. I think if they are fully wedded to we need as much versatility as possible, that potentially sees George Turner or Stuart McInally be called up as a bit of a surprise pick. possibly is your third, fourth choice, because at that point it doesn't matter, because they're break glass in case of emergency, and it doesn't really matter who you take so long as they're all right and they're good enough.
That's it. It's just filling a space at that point. You're not talking about starting someone in that position. You're talking about, in a 20-minute desperation, let's put someone somewhere. And I see in the comments there's a few Dave Cherry shouts. Look, Dave Cherry had a cracking Six Nations. Versatility will count against Dave Cherry. He is a beautiful, beautiful hooker. But he will not go the lines to it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with my hookers, right? So Owens is obviously in. Now, who did you say had credit in the bank, John?
Jamie George.
Yeah, that's what I've got him down as well. One guy you haven't mentioned, who I've put down, and because he is quite similar to George Turner in that he is rapid, is Ronan Kelleher.
Yeah,
he's very quick. It would suit South African pitches. He had a good Six Nations. Obviously, he's part of a Leinster team who have,
just
kicked ass
lost
for quite a while. Yeah, but
just lost. So
have you seen some of
lost
the
his
reactions? Have you seen some of the reactions to La Rochelle beating Leinster? Like the Irish Times, they're all losing their mind. It was like, it's the end of days. Oh no, Irish rugby is ruined. Like
the dynasty is destroyed.
We've been beaten by the town from my Tricolor 3B book.
You got beaten away from home. I guess a
decent body side.
You know what? You might have just had an off day. It happens, man. At this level of rugby, things like that happen. So I think it's absolutely mental.
Ronan Kelleher.
Yeah, Ronan Kelleher.
Have you heard his attempts to speak in French?
Oh,
he speaks French with an Irish accent. It is
amazing.
It's a thing to behold.
Is it as good as Finn's French?
No, it's worse.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because Finn's French is actually getting there. It's not as bad as it was.
So let's do locks then.
Locks
was fairly straightforward. Because I say straightforward. I've stuck one of my locks in my back rows. So I've gone Alan Wynne-Jones, Maro Itoje, Ian Henderson, James Ryan, and Johnny. I snuck Johnny Gray on, but I might if I'm going to take Kebble, then I might have to get rid of someone from somewhere, and it might be Johnny Gray.
I have the exact same four apart from Johnny Gray, and the only other person I've got that could possibly cover lock is Ty Byrne, who I've put in the flankers section.
As a back.
So
I'm with Cammy. I'm with Cammy, yeah, absolutely. As much as it absolutely kills me internally to say that Alan Jones should go in this Lions tour, it makes me sad. It makes me really. I want to weep right now, but he will go. Anyway,
he had he had an absolute blinding Six Nations. To be fair, and for Wales to win, I think if Wales hadn't won it, and he'd had the Six Nations, he kind of had a couple of seasons ago where he was a bit, Wales were a bit at sea. He wasn't really exerting his dominance as captain of that Wales team. I don't see him going, but I think he's hit form at the right time, and I don't think he's going to be captain. By the way, I think a lot of people pushing for to be captain. I don't think you can stick a.
Will we name a captain at the end? Is that our plan?
Yeah, go on. We'll name our captain at the end.
Cool. I think if Ian's going to Ian's point, if he's going to drop a lock, I think Ian Henderson's your man to drop. I think he's been very, very good, but I think so if you think about the balance of the lock position, you generally have the ball player and the tackle machine, right? You have the worker and the ball player, the link player. And I think Ian Henderson does both of those very well, but he doesn't do them as well as the other people we're talking about. So if you think of Alwyn and Johnny Gray are your workhorses, and then you've got your Itoje and your James Ryan, they are your ballers. They are your Harlem Globetrotters of locks. So that's your balance.
Yeah, my only thing that went in Johnny Gray's favour for me was that he's part of a very successful Exeter team, and I think if he'd been playing for Glasgow still, we wouldn't be talking about him in these terms because he got injured halfway through the Six Nations.
Yep. No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Back row then.
Yay!
I've got Hamish Watson, Talupe Falatau, Tag Byrne, Justin Tipperick, CJ Stander, and Jamie Ritchie, who I might have to get rid of. If I keep Johnny Gray, I'm going to have to get rid of Jamie Ritchie.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So let's take those individually, right? So
Hamish Watson's definitely going. Like the English press are convinced that he's not going, even to the point where someone today forgot that he'd won the Six Nations Player of the Championship. Someone today, I'm not going to name them because they accepted they'd made a mistake, said Anton Dupont is going to be the first player to win a Six Nations Player of the Championship and European Player of the Year. And I was like, nope.
Did you see what the Times said about Hamish Watson? It was the Thistle podcast retweeted it. Like
they said he's small again or something.
No, all they said about because he was in the possibles. All they said was strong in attack. And you're like 2 weeks ago, you said he was too bloody lightweight, right? So if all you're going to say about him is strong in attack, then you're completely negating the fact that he's won more turnovers in international rugby than anyone other than Michael Hooper over the last 2 years. This is just absolute basic bull poop, right?
It's to
have 3 words about the Six Nations Player of the Year, right? Fuck off.
It's almost like
it's ridiculous.
It's almost like people get their information from Wikipedia, Ian.
And then, well, of course, Tom Curry's in the definite section. He's the saviour of all English rugby. The new Richie McCaw, the greatest player England will ever see.
We'll come to Tom Curry in a minute and why he's definitely not going.
So we're agreeing that Hamish Watson's going, right?
Yeah.
Right. Hamish Watson's going.
So who have we got definites? We've got Byrne, Watson, Stander. We've all got them.
I've got them as definite.
Absolutely goes.
The only reason I put Stander in is because I was struggling for 8s.
I've
got Falatau as my 8. My starting 8 would be Falatau, but then you need because Watson can cover it, but you only want him there in an absolute emergency. So I think you need to take Stander as your second number 8, and he can cover 6 as well, so it's fine.
Test experience, South African, had a decent season as well, to be fair to him.
Yeah, he did, and Billy Vunipola just not on. An informed Billy Vunipola, I would have stuck him in ahead of Stander probably, but he's not in form, so I think it's a massive risk to take him.
I think again, if you have English coaches on the tour, Vunipola goes, but
yeah.
I think with the way Townsend will be trying to, the way the attack will be trying to revolve it. So if you think of Stander as being a much better version of Josh Strauss, and you look at Glasgow's attack, the way they used to attack under Townsend, you might be able to see what the plan would be. As Stander coming on and just absolutely bulldogging some people, be quite good.
See, I've got so Byrne, what's the standard? I have picked Tom Curry again. This is just because this is who I think will get picked, not who I would pick. I've got Curry in there. I've also got Justin Tipperick because we know Gatlin loves Tipperick.
Yeah, I think Tipperick's going. My bolds were Watson, Falatau, Byrne, and Tipperick as the 4 that are definitely going on tour. Then I had 2 other spaces. Now that it's interesting that app I was telling you about earlier, which we'll post a link to on the blog. I got an email about it from a PR firm, and I ended up having a chat with a guy that actually developed it, because when they put the email through to us, they were pushing Tom Curry. And I looked at their app and I said, look, why are you pushing Tom Curry? Because the story here is that actually, according to your stats, Jamie Ritchie is miles better than Tom Curry. Better. Statistically, he's miles better and had a very good situation.
I love Jamie Ritchie. I would take him any day.
Mark, to his credit, turned around and said, it's because everyone's talking about Tom Curry. And this is what I was saying about this mass hysteria, this group think that has come in, is a couple of people have said Tom Curry's a shoo-in for the Lions. And so, like the Emperor's New Clothes, every other rugby writer has to say, I have to name Tom Curry because I'm going to look stupid if he doesn't get picked. It's not based on anything, because anything that anybody says about, he had a good World Cup, right? Well, England had a crap World Cup in 2015, and they still got more players than Scotland did on the last tour.
It's
You know,
the- it's the
well,
age-old-
he's bigger than Watson. No, he's not. He's good over the ball. Well, he's not as good as anybody else.
We've all done presentations at work where you've been told to make sure that something isn't controversial so that it keeps the audience. And this is the same situation. It's like, don't exclude Curry, because all you're going to then talk about is how you've excluded Curry, as opposed to everything else, which is very good about what you've written. Which is stupid, because like rugby fans just need to really dial it in and understand that Tom Curry is not actually that good. He's a decent player. He's not that good.
I think it's that thing. He's, by comparison, given that it's a bit like Scotland a few years ago, where we insisted on playing 2 6s under Scott Johnson. the moment you get a number 7 that can play well, everybody loses their mind. I mean, we started Chris Fusaro against England in a Calcutta Cup match because we were that desperate for a 7 at the time. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's it.
And did they not? I don't suppose England were playing James Haskell at 7 at that point, were they? Because that's not an open side.
No, we lost that game. We got nilled in that game.
That was a dreadful game of rugby.
Oh,
So
God.
we went-
oh, no,
we
I know
went-
that. I remember that one. Christ.
Given
Did we not
Ian's
go
having a
from
flashback.
two
Oh,
sexes to then playing 3 7s in the World Cup?
Yeah. Which and doing and getting to the quarterfinal and almost getting to a semi-final.
Yeah, we should have won that World Cup.
I'm a big fan of Josh Navidi, by the way. I think Josh
I am a
Navidi's
big fan. I
player.
didn't know. So when you look at this, is what's
Keep it
interesting. This is why Tom Curry's not going. So I'm going to get Tom Curry up in here. So
Let's do Tom Curry.
if you look at Tom Curry as a 6, for example, so on that app they've got Tagburn, Jamie Ritchie. They actually had Mark Wilson as the 6, but you can swap in Tom Curry, and then they've done it with Josh Navidi. So Josh Navidi's actually got a couple of try assists, got a try. In terms of meters made, look, Tom Curry does well. It comes out of it quite well. He makes a lot of meters, but I think he's running a lot from backfield, so that's easy enough to do.
They tried him. I don't think they did it to 6 stations, but they've tried him at 8 before, and it didn't work.
Yeah. But you get to turnovers. I mean, Tagburn won 10. Jamie Ritchie won 5 turnovers. Tom Curry conceded 6 turnovers.
That's pretty bad, isn't it? That's a man getting ice. Although, I mean, that's probably because England's attack was absolutely honking during the 6 Nations.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other 8, which would be the bolter, would be Sam Simmons, which I've suggested to use in the chat would just be as a sort of Warren Gatland. How'd you like them apples, Eddie?
That's it. I think that's the banter pick. That's the kind of like we're going to pick. You're going to be allowed England players in this Lions squad, but only England players that aren't currently playing for England. Yeah. So
I mean, Henderson can go to 6 as well. So
I know. Well, this is it, because I was thinking if Itoje can cover back row. The only reason I think Jamie Ritchie might be in with a shout is because he can in an emergency cover lock. I think he has. Packed down like in the dying minutes of Edinburgh games there before, because he's 6'4".
Yeah,
Plus, I think he has played lock. He hasn't started at lock, but he's ended up at lock. Jamie Ritchie, I think, before.
We've got Gordon McCracken there, who's just made a comment. Very good point. Tom Curry missed 11 tackles.
Yeah,
I think with Tom Curry, right, it was the whole Curry Underhill combo thing, which was what impressed people so much. Because what are they calling them? They call them like the Bruise Brothers. Because they managed to smack New Zealand about. I don't see Curry Underhill being any better than Richie Watson.
No.
I think.
Yeah,
I actually think
that's because it's not.
Yeah, I actually think Jamie Ritchie's a very underrated ball player in terms of his ability to link up play. I mean, any other year, I would take Ritchie because I think he's one of my favourite Scotland players at the moment, just because he has. I mean, if you want people with edge on them, he's got so much edge. The Japanese gave him a bloody samurai sword.
Let's take him then. Let's take him.
Kamikaze kids. Thanks,
Yeah.
Josh.
Let's
Josh has
take
just
him.
confirmed it.
Yeah,
We-
I do think people might be surprised and that Tom Curry won't go, because there's a lot. If you look at the back row options across the Four Nations, there's a lot there to go on, and
then
maybe it's going to
prepare
be
for all
just
the
going to be
hand-
furious.
Prepare for all the hand wringing after the Telegraph and the Times and the
I know.
Guardian. Stephen
just
Jones is going to.
Stephen
just-
Jones. I think the
Tom,
flip
so-
side of that is then we're not going to get kind of people walking back on what they've said. You're just going to get them doubling down and saying Warren Gatland has undermined the integrity of the Lions by picking Jamie Ritchie in the back row over Tom Curry. It's disgusting. We've got 11 Scots besmirching the Lions.
Man,
And
I
then
think
when Jamie
Ritchie and
Ritchie
Curry
gets-
would be a great combo.
It would be a great. I mean, that's the other thing. I think the one thing is it's an old. If you don't have Curry or Ritchie, it's actually quite an old back row
Back row it is,
selection,
yeah.
which is why I think. I mean, the option would be that you could take Curry and not take CJ Stander, given he's retiring from Ireland, because Curry can play 8.
Can he though?
Well,
Really?
I know, but then you've not got anybody else. So I don't know. I just think the rest. There's going to be a youthful back rower in there. You forget how old
he's 26.
is he? I mean, somebody sub 25. You want somebody sub 25 in there at least.
Aye. And Ritchie and Curry are both young as all sorts of things. It's ridiculous how young they are.
So that might be an area for controversy come Thursday, one way or the other. Scrum halves. I've gone with 3. I think Ali Price is nailed on here. By the way, I don't think there's any argument. I know people are saying that he's not going to get picked, but I think that's utter bull crap.
Ty Burns actually 29 years old, so I was completely wrong.
There you go. Yeah, I thought he was older.
It's
because
because
he
he broke
spent, like-
through late.
He
Because he
played
was
in-
couldn't get a
half
game at
his-
Munster, went to Scarlets.
Went to
I
Scarlets.
spent
Yeah.
half his life in Wales, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you're actually really good at rugby. We should definitely pick you."
Come back, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Cam. I think Ali Price is, I think he's 100% nailed on, and I think it's his performances for Scotland. Right, I know he's got his detractors. Right, people seem to have this misguided idea that Ali Price should be doing like all sorts of mad Ali Price stuff that he done when he first broke through. He's clearly been coached into a very, very good game plan. He kicks well. He distributes faster than Antoine Dupont, as we know from fact. This has been proven. He is quicker than Antoine Dupont. He also has a good rugby brain on him. He made some mistakes in the Six Nations, as every player did. It's just in his position, much like playing at 10, your mistakes are so glaring that the world gets to see them, and then the world gets to absolutely eviscerate you for your brain dead decision to play a stupid grubber kick. Yeah, I'm really annoyed about it as well. I think it was a really stupid decision for him to kick that ball, but you know what? It doesn't detract from the fact he's a very, very good rugby player.
And again, like we've said, if you actually look at what he was trying to do with that kick, although the execution was bad, and I agree, he shouldn't have tried it. There was something on it. The ball bounces another way, it goes straight in the touch, and you've got a good attack. You've got a good attack.
The ball bounces up, and it's that classic situation that we have as Scotland fans. We struggle with this. We don't understand it, and I think it's a throwback to the sort of early noughties. We don't understand that if a player tries something, if it comes off, then they're the best player in the world, and they should be nominated for World Player of the Year 6 years running. And if it doesn't,
Greg
they
Laidlaw.
are exactly If it comes off, Greg
not
Laidlaw,
World Player of the Year nominee. Let's not forget.
yeah. And if it doesn't come off, they're Pete Horn. That's basically the spectrum that you're working to. It's we need to just chill.
Yeah.
People can emphasise the fact he got charged out a few times in that back rubber pick, but why are you not talking about how amazingly he controlled that last passage of play against France?
Yeah.
People could have
ball
cracked
after
themselves
ball.
there. That was
after ball.
excellent, superb game management,
And
that's
he's
after
been
being
on the park the
84
whole game.
minutes. Yeah. I mean, that's excellent stuff.
Yeah. I think for me, I think Watson, Price, and Russell are my three lines in the sand. Right? They don't go on the Lions tour, then it's done for me. I don't see. I think a riot at that point.
So if they
Because
don't go, can we do another? Remember the last Lions tour? We done the anything but Lions.
Yeah, we will definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
excellent.
looking at
What we talk about?
cruises with Michael Barrymore again.
Gardening Weekly.
Martin Bell suggesting that Finlay Christie has to be a voter. It's no matter a shot than Danny Kerr. Hey, look, anything goes.
Love it, Martin. Love it. That's brilliant. Finlay Christie needs to be in every conversation ever.
I'd initially written down John Cooney. I really like John Cooney.
A few people have said that. We've had a couple of John Cooney shouts in the Patreon chat.
One thing in John Cooney's plus column is that there's no Ireland coaches there. They clearly don't like him. Which is inexplicable.
Apparently he has family connections from Cambuslang, so that gets him another plus point for me.
Well, he could have. We had that. Well, I was going to say, I think it technically was Scots qualified, but he had like an Ireland A cap that captured him.
I think he was approached before, and he chose Ireland. There wasn't an A cap or anything like that. He was approached. He chose to go with Ireland, and yeah, that was a stupid move.
So I've gone Price, Conor Murray, and Tom Williams. And I think Murray's going because of the experience.
Yeah, I've got the exact same three written down.
Yeah, and I mean the only other debate was, and it's hilarious. I mean Ben Youngs just seems to pull out of. He is the pull out of Lions tours, guys. He loves a Lions pull out. I don't know if there's like something in that.
To be fair, he had a legitimate reason last time.
Well, no, I know he did. Of course he did. Of course, and that's no disrespect to him. It obviously meant like pulling out last time was sensible, but this time round, like he said he's got like a young family and stuff like that. He was in with a shot.
It's the interesting thing. I think this is like you said at the top, and this is going to come into consideration in the discussions that Warren Gatland and Gregor Townsend and everybody else are going to be having with other coaches is who's coped with the COVID bubbles well.
Yes.
And the fact that the RFU have put out a report that says the reason we didn't perform well this Six Nations was because of coronavirus and the fact we had to isolate when every other team was doing that.
Yep.
To me, is a massive issue for any England player going on this tour.
I think that's why Gatland's come out and said ultimately more Scots, less English. I think that's part of it. Like,
Danny Kerr is not going on this Lions tour.
If he is, again, that I'm going to call that. We'll call that a cameo line, right? We're putting a cameo line in the sand. If Danny Kerr is on the tour, I'm going to be very upset and probably not take out a Sky Sports subscription for it.
It's that thing. It's that thing. So when was it 2000 and I forgot to work about 15, and then we had 2013. I'm going to do my maths right.
20. So what?
What's one Richie Gray on? What one did Richie Gray?
Richie Gray was on 2013.
2013. That 2013 tour, they were talking about Nathan Hines going on that tour at one point as a voter.
Lovely. Can you imagine?
I know. So I think we're all agreed on scrum half. That fly halves then. Now, I've only gone with two.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I've only gone Dan Biggar and Finn Russell. And the reasons will become clear when I get to my centres, but I've only gone Dan Biggar, Finn Russell. Squidge made a very good point. Squidge Rugby, who for those, I'm sure everybody knows who Squidge is, but it's well worth a follow. Is Squidge on Rugby. Very good at explaining and breaking stuff down in the way things are played. Squidge did a video a while back to showing why he believes that George Ford is the greatest fly half in World Rugby right now. And he's got a point. And although I've gone with Dan Biggar and Finn Russell, I think a lot of people might be surprised that George Ford may well be called up as the third fly half on this tour because he's a good fly half.
I think if you take 3 fly halves, then George Ford is definitely, and you'll notice there's two glaring omissions from our conversation that we're going to have. I agree with you. I think Bigger's nailed on, and Russell, obviously, you all know
I
my
think
views
Russell's
on Finn
nailed
Russell.
on as well. I think it's that normal English kind of rugby.
Anyone who says that Finn Russell's not nailed on is an absolute idiot, doesn't understand rugby, and should go and get in the sea, frankly. But I think if you take 3, George Ford is a really good shout, and particularly given that possibly some of the people we might pick in the centre, he's very good at working with them. He has, I think, so I watched that game down at Twickenham recently. I think I'd mentioned this in the podcast. I watched it back recently, and the difference that George Ford makes when he comes on in terms of his game management, he really calms everyone down. See, if George Ford doesn't come on, Scotland win that game. And not just because he scores the try. He calms everyone down with his game management, with his demeanour, and he just has a thing about him that means that England start playing proper rugby again. And I think that's one of the reasons that, if you're looking for someone just to take the sting out of a midweek game against the Stormers or someone like that, then George Ford's your guy.
Yeah. Have you got 2 fly halves then, Ian?
No, I've got 3, but I suppose we can shift Finn it to 12 if needs be. I have gone Bigger, Sexton, Russell. I think Sexton will go for experience-wise. Just, I think it's right. I think he'll be used as the midweek 10. I think it'll be Bigger starting and Finn on the bench.
For the first test, and then they'll realise that's a stupid idea.
I think Sexton's too old.
I concur, but I remember this isn't what I would go with. It's just what I think Gatlin will go with, and he'll go, "Oh, he's got lots of credit in the bank. He's experienced, yada yada yada. He's got a great kicking game."
Let's not forget though, Gregor Townsend's in the room, and he pathologically hates Johnny Sexton and Conor Murray's standing leg. Can you just imagine Gregor Townsend in training against Conor Murray, just finding inventive ways in training to try and target his standing leg? It's going to be really strange that, because Razzie Erasmus was the Munster coach at the time, so you're going to have a situation where Gregor Townsend is having to protect Conor Murray's standing leg against Razzie Erasmus, who previously had to protect Conor Murray's standing leg against Gregor Townsend's coaching.
Razzie's gone.
Has he?
Yeah, Razzie's not the coach anymore.
Is he director of rugby at South Africa then?
Yeah, he's moved upstairs.
Was he not his own boss? He was his own boss at one point.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
What, like Mark Dawson?
Let's see, South Africa rugby. I'm on it, Ian. I'm on it. Just fill for a second, mate.
He's still down as a head coach according to Google. He's just his own boss, I think. Oh no, Jack Niebar.
Yeah, no, it's when they did when I did that. Was it Six Nations? No, the Rugby World Cup draw. When we got South Africa and Ireland, I was all right. Is it too early to have a beer yet? Because that was terrifying. Yeah, I was surprised it wasn't Razzie Erasmus, but he's moved up the stairs.
I
think he's still in charge.
A couple of comments, Ian, have said, so just to interrupt, a couple of comments coming in have said regarding Sexton.
So Gordon McCracken, he's genuinely made of paper mache.
Yeah. And let's be honest, by this point, he is actually made of paper mache. He's held together with tape and goodwill, right? And there's a lot less goodwill coming his way. I think
none coming for this direction, by the way.
No, there's none coming. No. Like Alex Dunbar should have dumped him harder than he said, or he's back. As it turned out, he dumped him on. But anyway,
he dropped him on one side of his head, and then he complained that it was the other side of his head that was hurt.
Well, everyone knows that impact can head right the way through your head. Sexton is
South Africa famously.
You're like, oh come on, ref, he's milking it.
See, South Africa are famously hold back when it comes to the physicality of the game as well.
They're a docile side, let's be honest. Sexton going on to, even I would be concerned even about Sexton in training, actually, because the level of physicality that you're going to need to have to engage the Springboks is going to be so much more than, let's be honest, right? There's been tours recently where Sexton's looked the part, but he's not really had to do much. The Six Nations, whilst it is physical, he gets away with murder. And you introduce a whole different thing to that. It's...
I mean, he only lasted 50 minutes against Exeter, didn't he?
Yeah.
If that, or was it Ross Byrne came on for 50? I can't remember. No, I've put him in, like you said, I wouldn't take him, but I think Gatland will.
Well,
we shall see.
We shall see. So, centres then. Now, this is where I've only gone for 2 fly halves. Because I've gone for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've gone for 5 centres.
You have, yeah.
I've got Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose, Chris Harris, Owen Farrell, and Cammy Redpath. I genuinely think I'm more and more convinced that Cammy Redpath is going to be a bolter here.
I think with Townsend in the room, 100%.
Because Townsend, Tandy, and Gatlin were all at the Bath game the weekend, and although they lost to Montpellier, Redpath had a decent game. He put through a kick that almost got finished off with a try. You got a decent write-up in the Bath local paper as well for it, and I think he can fill in at fly half. So when you've got Farrell, and I think Farrell will go because he's got it's that credit in the bank player kind of thing. Although I'm not sure he's got the mental capacity to last an entire tour in a bubble where he might have to work alongside Finn Russell, because I just don't think he could cope with the shenanigans, to be honest. I'm not sure that's up his street. So I think the fact that Redpath covers 10, then you've got Stu Hogg that can potentially cover 10 in emergency. You've got Owen Farrell that covers 10. I think you only need 2 fly halves then.
That's a fair argument. It's a fair argument.
I've gone with... I was looking at this, right, and sort of the options at 12 are so limited. So I've picked the 5 centres I've taken, right? Farrell, Henshaw, JD2, Chris Harris, and one who, because I hate to use the old Warren Ball cliche, but a guy who can play 12 and 13 and is a big physical person, a la Ben Teo, Bundy Aki.
Oh,
that's not a bad shout, that, actually, to be fair.
A decent shout, yeah. I think I agree with most of what's been said. I think Henshaw and Ringrose are absolutes. Harris, yeah, I mean...
Ringrose, I've not got Ringrose. I like Ringrose, but
I think he goes.
I'd maybe put him in ahead of JD2, to be fair, but because Gatlin is JD2.
The other option is you go Robbie Henshaw 12. So let's say Henshaw 12, Farrell 12, Redpath 12. You go Chris Harris as your 13. And then you either go JD2, who has not been playing 13 for Wales, or you go Hugh Jones. And you pull that beautiful, beautiful boy into Leinster, because he's South African. He is experienced in those tracks. He's been in good form this year. He's probably been Glasgow's standout player, actually. He is injured, but let's see if we can get him on a tour.
He's goosed.
Nah.
I think it's a step too far.
Yeah,
he's not going to...
A goose step too far?
He's not going...
It's not H.H. Jones.
Yeah, I think Gary Ringrose is probably the only one that lacks versatility in my selection. I think Robbie Henshaw can cover fullback, Chris Harris can cover wing, Farrell covers 10 and 12, Cammy Redpath also 10 and 12. We got Russell as well as a potential 12.
12
again in an emergency.
Henshaw can play 13 as well. I think the last tour, my 15 had Farrell at 12 with Henshaw at 13. And again, because he's a good defender, and that's an important defensive position.
Josh Adams can play 13 as well, and I've got him in my back 3.
Just to catch up with Matt Sims' comment there, I've seen so many people going on about Tuolangi, and if you want to talk about people made of paper mache, there you go, man.
Aye.
He's not even fit at the minute. I think he's got some soft tissue damage I was reading today. So
again, this is another one of these Times and Daily Telegraph pushes.
It's like we're going to name players that our readers know, and our readers only watch rugby during the Six Nations, which is fine. By the way, I'm not criticising people that don't watch rugby apart from the Six Nations. That's absolutely fine. But from a paper point of view, that's who they play to. They play to the people that know the names,
or they play to people who watch really mediocre rugby teams like Leicester, or like he's at Sale now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, I decided I was a Sale fan recently.
Did you? Why'd you do that?
It lasted about a day.
It's the worst rugby stadium I've ever been to. It's the worst stadium I've ever been to.
Pretty bad, yeah. I mean,
I've been to. I was going to say I've been to stadiums in the Scottish lower leagues.
I just thought that, you know what, there was a bit of a charity case there. Like, they need my support.
Why did they put the tent on the grassy wet bit?
That don't make no sense whatsoever.
Oh yeah,
it's in the middle of nowhere. Or we could just pave this over. Nah, we'll just leave this bog, shall we? Yeah.
Love a box.
So have you gone for centre then, Ian?
My centres are Farrell, Henshaw, JD2, Harris, Aki.
I think Aki's a reasonable shout. I think JD2 is going to be the interesting one. It's just I think he's a 50-50. I think Henshaw and Ringrose were the only two I had nailed on. The others were all. Even Chris Harris was my 10-1 bet.
One I've forgotten.
Well, Harris is nailed on. Harris is nailed on.
See, once we go to the back three, there's one possible swap I could do, in which I've said this person can play 13, in which case we need a more ball 12, which would be Cam Redpath.
Yeah. So I've gone. So my back. So who have you gone for your back three then?
Stuart Hogg, obviously.
Yeah.
Anthony Watson. Doohan.
Yeah.
Because Doohan. Liam Williams and Lewis Rees-Zammit. But what I've said there is I could maybe bring Earls in for Lewis Rees-Zammit so that Earls could play 13 if required.
I think that's it. I don't know. I think Keith Earls believes he can play 13, as somebody said to me earlier today. Shout out, Patricia. Believes he can play. Yeah, I think I've gone with Josh Adams, you see, because he can cover 13.
Can he? I don't think I've ever seen Josh Adams. I've never seen Josh Adams playing 13.
Have I misunderstood that?
If you could teach Doohan how to defend properly, he'd be useful at 13 because he's a bloody wrecking ball. But yeah, I can't see. I mean, the number of times I've seen people leaving Doohan out, I'm just amazed by it because how can you not take the most brutal winger in world rugby at the moment? When the guy's got 8 tries and 10 test starts, for Christ's sake.
The guy is a cheat code. He is the definition of cheat code, isn't he?
It's like, Football Manager editor, there we go. 99 pace, 99 strength. There we are.
That's it. Yeah, beast mode activated. Can't defend, but we can't make it too unrealistic. Beast
Josh
mode.
Adams can play centre. He got a surprise pick at centre at one point. I'm trying to read Wales Online, but I'm just getting adverts for all sorts of random spam. But yeah, he can play centre if needs be.
No, I wouldn't like him there.
I'm not saying I'd like him there. I'm just saying that if you're looking for players that can cover.
Yeah. But he's not got that nasty little vicious streak as Keith Earls does. So yeah, and you could probably get Keith Earls to wind South African up enough to get punched in the face.
That's true.
I would love that. I would love that so much. A South African punching Keith Earls would probably make my tour.
To
be fair, it might be Doohan van der Merwe that might punch him. It might be a South African in the Lions squad that might end up doing
Doohan. So we've got Doohan,
Ollie Kebble,
possibly CJ Stander, even Hugh Jones. That should happen.
Yeah,
Errol should be lined up and punched by South Africans.
I think Doohan is another one. I think you're right, Ian. He's another one that the English media have just decided. A couple of people said he's shaky at defence, therefore he's not going. And I think I don't think you can ignore his stats. or ignore the physical presence that he brings as well.
Yeah, but then, like, you know, as I think I said a couple of weeks ago, when they've gone, oh, well, imagine Cheslin Colby stepping, I was like, well, he stepped half past the England team. He scored what was the clinching try in the World Cup final. So I don't think you can just put that against him. And also, if you flip that around, can you imagine Doohan running at Cheslin Colby?
Yeah.
Colby's just got to crap his pants and run away. I would as well, and I'm bigger than Cheslin Colby.
To be fair to Colby, he'll be big and brave about it.
Yeah.
But there's only so far big and brave gets you when there's a 6'4", 18.5 stone monster running over the top of your head.
I mean, this isn't Roy Jones Jr. against Nikolai Valuev here. You know, this is this is a different kettle of fish. Yes, I don't see how you can't take Doohan. Liam Williams covers, Anthony Watson covers wing and fullback. They're both excellent players.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent kicking games between them. But Hogg, Anthony Watson, Doohan, Liam Williams, Lewis Rees-Zammit for me.
Is there an argument for Sean Maitland?
Yes,
I think there is an argument for him.
very much so.
That he's, he's been on tour previously. It's just who you swap out for him.
Yeah. And I think it's probably worth us remembering that we are, like, this is an initial squad we're looking at, and, everyone knows there's going to be people who are coming into a squad injured. There's going to be people who are going to get injured. I wouldn't be surprised to see Maitland end up there.
Yeah. I think it's a pack, the back three in particular. I think there's a lot of candidates for. I think there's like you said, hooker, you're kind of thin on the ground. But I think with the rest of it, when you actually sit down and try to look at it from the point of view, who are they likely to pick? I'd love Sean Maitland to go, and I think there's a good argument he should do, but it's just who are you going to take out?
And again, there's that legacy thing.
Hogg
could make an R tournament. Watson at a push. Liam Williams, I think Liam Williams is 29 now, so he probably can't. But Doohan and Lewis Rees-Zammit will likely be on the next tour.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the hardest, especially with the shortened squads. If we were picking 42, then laughing here, but
it's a 36, isn't it? So try to keep it to 36. Again, that's all conjectures. A lot of rumours that it's going to be 36, and people saying they've heard it's going to be 36. So we don't actually know what the final squad size is going to be. My feeling is going to creep up to 40 for front rows, but I suppose it depends on how you balance the books then.
Particularly if you're looking at COVID, but like if you're entering, so it depends on how they're going to do the tour. If it is going to have to be a COVID bio bubble, as they describe it, then I think you do need a bigger squad.
The only thing I think that might work is if Ireland have had their tour to Fiji cancelled. Mm-hmm. So if they do a shadow tour to South Africa and they play some of the provincial sides for Ireland alongside the Lions as a kind of fallback, and say, well, look, we can swap. We've got our own COVID secure bubble. We're doing the lateral flow testing for players to check no one's asymptomatic and checking tests. We can easily swap players in and out of the two bubbles, which is kind of what Scotland did, right? Because you'd have Glasgow in their bubble, Edinburgh in their bubble, and that's how we ended up with Ryan Wilson playing against
Ryan Wilson. It's the Ryan Wilson effect.
It is. That's it. And unfortunately, we know Ollie Jakob van der Volt's unable to holiday now in South Africa because he's off to Georgia, Romania, and wherever else for Scotland's tour.
You kidding? Duncan Weir's going to be running that tour.
Who are you going for captain then? Because this is a problem. Then I don't think Maro Itoje for me is in a good enough form to be captain.
He shouldn't be, no.
No, I don't. I'm not going with Itoje as captain. Alan Wynne-Jones, I'm not sure is nailed on enough as. It's Al Kellogg being named captain for Scotland in that the New Zealand World Cup 2011 when actually he was named captain and didn't get many games.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Alan Wynne-Jones.
I think it probably is.
I mean, I know it's the
If we're doing head,
choice,
heart, and
but-
arse, it's head says it's Alwyn, heart says it's Stuart Hogg, and
Yeah.
arse
Arse says it's Alan Wynne.
arse says it's
Arse
Alwyn
says-
Jones.
Arse is a Georgie.
No, arse says it's Johnny Sexton. Does that mean she's on tour?
See, Arse is either Sexton or Farrell. Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine? I
Yeah,
forgot
that would-
about that wee northern
So
flats.
there was
Eh.
Ian Morrison on the offside line. I think picked a Lions squad today with only 2 Scots in, and I
That's
just felt
because
furious
he
even
is an
thinking about it.
He is an idiot, let's be honest.
What? He's a former international Scotland player.
He's
So-
still an idiot. It doesn't matter. He still talks utterly rubbish. He has
What's
lots of previous where he speaks utter tripe.
our baseline here then for
Six.
what is 6 your baseline, John, for maintaining an interest in the line? Is that what does 6 do? 6 Scotland players, does that maintain your interest in the Lions for another 2, or does that reignite the fire in your heart?
I think 6 gets me reignited. Like I was 2013, I was quite into it, and I was quite excited, even though there was limited representation. And then 2017, I just wanted to watch Tommy Seymour be beautiful on tour, and he was. So I watched all the Tommy Seymour games and didn't
Yeah.
watch anything else.
I watched all the Greg Laidlaw games for the same reason.
Yeah, and like I think if you're 6 guys on tour, I think six guys gives you a chance of maybe 1, maybe 2 test starters, and then that reignites a wee bit of interest in the Lions. But I mean, I'm probably still going to watch The Lion King when there's no Scots.
Ian,
So, I've got my 5 stick-ons, but basically, like, see if Hamish Watson doesn't go.
Yeah,
It's-
Watson doesn't go. The Lions tour's cancelled.
So have you just seen like this BBC Ugo Monye and Chris Jones picking a team? Oh
don't.
my god, Jack Noel.
Let's
Jack Noel. Good Lord.
The back 3, they've got Ugo Monye, who I usually quite like. He's gone Lewis Reeves Amos, Anthony Watson, Stuart Hogg, Liam Williams. Me and him are pretty much in agreement there. Then he's gone Adams and Jack Noel.
Where does Jack Noel come from?
Well, it's because he doesn't believe in COVID.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, I'm already immune. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an auto pick.
Noel
I've got-
has only played 100 minutes of rugby since the Premiership final as he comes back from injury, but Gatland loves him.
Does he?
No
Yeah,
one loves
we
Jack
do.
Noel. Jack Noel's an idiot.
Is it Jack Noel? Was it Jack Noel that tried to solve tried to make peace with North Korea?
It could have been any one of the Exeter players, to be honest, man. I don't know what's going on in the air in there.
Yeah, it was. It was Jack Noel got an invitation. I'm sure it's.
Was it sent by Dennis Rodman by any chance?
Somebody got invited to
I
North
think
Korea.
that Johnny. God, right, see, last year Johnny May had a pick Johnny May, but I don't think he's. I mean, if people are going to go on about how bad a defender Doohan is, you need to talk about Johnny May's defensive position as well. It's better than it used to be, but it's
He gets away with a lot because he's rapid, but ultimately he's average. Like he's very good going forward, but he is average.
Yeah,
overall.
and also, I mean, is your only, are these people's only criteria for picking wingers about how good they are defending? Because that's not going to work, man. Surely you want people who are going to score tries playing on the wing.
I just want to apologise to Jack Noel. It was Johnny May who believed he could solve the situation in North Korea, not Jack Noel, and received a formal invitation to go to North Korea as a result. That is a true story.
I'm sure he would have taken Jack Noel as his buddy.
Probably.
Oh God, there's not Manitou Lang. Jesus.
Should we just leave it there? Should we? I think I think the best thing we can say is any line selections by any English rugby writers are utter rubbish.
Null and void.
Yeah.
Particularly once who used to play for Harlequins and just keep picking Harlequins players. Yeah, there's.
I'm surprised Ugo Monye hasn't had a call up.
Well, I was, Simon Thomas. He was asking on Twitter, is there any other options for scrum half? I went Greg Laidlaw.
Hey, you're looking for somebody who can control the game, who's playing overseas. Bolter, former Lion. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Goal kicker.
It might happen to be on media duty.
Yep. Who knows? I think we should leave it there anyway. That's it for the Lions. We've been going on for an hour and a half.
We've managed
I know you hit 2 hours last week just because Tommy Seymour had retired and Ian felt sad.
We both felt sad and we both ended up in our chairs saluting Tommy.
Nearly killing ourselves. Yeah.
I know I had to fill in health and safety forms afterwards.
My chair was very solid, I just have to say.
I'm just glad I found that Allen key last week and tightened some of these up. It's not an expensive chair.
We've not done our annual desk assessments. I'll have to send you your forms.
That's it, yeah. You get a wee DSC.
Economic chair, here I come.
That's where your Patreon money all goes. It's on the desk assessments I have to do for John and Ian. So.
Yeah, we are a risk assessment nightmare, to be fair. We was alone for 5 minutes and we're up in our chairs dancing.
Yeah, we'll cover more news next week. Like I said, if you you can watch our instant reaction to the Lions squad on Thursday afternoon, probably around 3:30, we think, on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you'll be able to download an audio version of that afterwards as well. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, you'll have to watch it back on one of those channels. We'll be back next week with kind of full reaction to everything that's gone on with the Lions. We'll have the 18s. I can't believe it's an 1872 decider, and I can't remember when they played the other games for this to be a decider. But
I mean, it's not really, is it? There's going to be another 15, 18. The 1872 is going to be decided.
They're playing another one the week after. How can we have a decider and then play another one?
2026.
That's a dead rubber. No, apparently. Well,
you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that.
No, I'm not allowed to say that any Glasgow-Edinburgh game is pointless.
Or any Glasgow game, for that matter.
Even though it was the ones at the end of last season, the second one in particular, was
You're
completely
banned
pointless.
from that.
And just put our players, both Glasgow and our players at risk of injury for no needs whatsoever. It was just to fill.
I think they should change the 1872 and make it, like I said last week, we should do it American sports style. It should be best of 15. And we should still be playing 1872 cups like in 2072.
I think we're looking at
Super League.
Potentially we're allowed limited crowds in to grounds now, so why not just take it on tour? Go play at Netherdale. Yeah. Go play at Netherdale and have 3 men and a dog watch it just to try and get into crowds and go play up in Aberdeen.
That'll be old school.
And they'd all be for Glasgow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
play in Murrayfield and have one, and get all the full capacity Murrayfield back again of Edinburgh fans of 3.
I'm so glad you said that.
I'm allowed to say that. I'm completely apathetic. I don't care one way or another. I'll throw shade either way. I don't care.
I'm not going to get letters this time. This is great.
I'm being charitable because Danny Wilson's off to Harlequins, so I'm trying to.
I'm not sure how that's like a negative, right?
Well,
like that is a charitable. That's Harlequins are really being charitable there. Like I love Harlequins now.
Well, we'll see. Better the devil,
No.
That's for. Let's put a pin in that and talk about that next week anyway.
Yes.
That has been our Lions preview for this week. If you listen to this post the Lions announcement, this entire thing is defunct, but you probably listen back laughing at how naive we were with some of our choices. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway.
It's got to get 2 picks.
So we'll be back next week. I think we're going to start doing these on Wednesdays from now on.
Yeah, because apparently I'm dragging Ian to rugby training. Yes.
So, which is
yeah. So the next video broadcast you'll see me battered and bruised, and
broken.
For all the people have heard his terrible opinions.
I'm off to the dentist tomorrow. I have chipped a tooth after training tonight, so I'm off to the dentist tomorrow to get my teeth repaired.
Do you have a gum shield?
So not when you're doing non-contact work. It turns out there was a very sloppy pass.
I
So,
mean,
I
This
was
is a
explaining to people that people like, so when you're a meter away from someone and you're doing a little
Were
running
you
drill.
explaining this while someone was throwing a ball at you, John? Because I think I might see the problem there.
No, I was explaining it over and over again. I was trying like repetitive, and I was catching the ball most of the time. But there was one guy in particular who was particularly fast with the ball and was like spinning it. You don't spin the ball a meter away from someone. That's ridiculous, right? You pop pass. And we were like, sympathetic pass, pop pass. And yeah, he spin past it and he got me in the face. And I have a very, very chipped tooth.
You can't win in Scottish rugby, can you? Either the delivery's too slow or it's too fast, you know?
It's not about too slow or fast. It's about right. It's about delivering it right. I will not have this. So, yeah, I'm not going to name names, but your pass was awful, mate.
This is John now advocating the bring back of the pendulum pass.
Yeah,
I love a pendulum pass, mate. That's how it always should have been.
Because it doesn't make it completely obvious.
And it also doesn't make my teeth get broken.
On that note, thank God for the NHS. On that note, we'll see you for this week. And it's goodbye from me and goodbye from John and Ian.
Night, guys. Ciao.